So we are like,
Okay. Thank you.
thank
And thank you everyone for joining us for this live session. And I think I will start with the canning, and Dr. Maya, she will join me with the value addition part. So regarding this course, the canning technology and value addition, it is one of the importance, like if you consider seafood processing or food processing in general. This is one of the crucial technique that we follows. Like, so value addition, as you know, like it is very important, since so all the food producers has to be stored, and uh, the processing has to be considered according to the consumer preferences. The shelf life is an important consideration that we need to bring into this the concept. But specifically, if we consider canning, like in the course, like if you follow this course, you would have been already understood that it is simultaneously a packaging and a processing method, and a preservation method. So it has been the history. If you consider the history of the canning technology, we already know that it has been developed for a specific purpose. So many technologies are has a similar history to share, but canning in particularly canning technology, or the few generally called as thermal preservation, it was developed due to certain historical developments, and specifically to store. And the purpose of the technology is to specifically store the food for a very long time, and also without losing different qualities, like like nutritional quality of the food, sensory acceptability of the food. So there were different factors considered while developing this technology. So it has gone through almost like more than 100 years of different kinds of developmental stages, and still it is one of the relevant process, or one of the popular preservation technique. And it has been developing, like if you see the historical development of the technology, it has gone through various processes. And as we have already explained, like how to approach this technology, just if you approach this technology as a layman. So as explained in the video, like the way to approach is the two components. Like we have divided the technology into three components, so that it could be easily understood by the participants. So it was the process, the container, and the concept. The concept, the container, and the process. So the CCPs, we actually divided it into CCPs. So CCP, you in many food processing, you would have came through this concept of CCP, like critical control points and different things. But this CCP, we have classified it as the concept, the container, and the process. So regarding the concept, again, if you consider this, what is concept is like, it is like like the definition itself. The says, if you read the definition itself. So uh, we have a container, and it has to be thermally, the core temperature has to be properly maintained. So the we have to reach a certain amount of core temperature within a thermally stable container, which could be hermetically sealed. So this is like, so in the concept itself, both these processes, these three components are joined, like the concept, the the container, and the process. So concept is so that we can seal the temperature, seal the food inside a particular container which is suitable for this process, so that no post-process spoilage is possible. Uh, so that no bacteria can grow inside, or can attack the food, or to infect the food. So the entire canning process is designed in such a way that we could enclose a food material within a container and apply a certain amount of heat, so that that particular heat reaches the core of that container, or core of that food, whatever it is enclosed inside that container. And it has to be heated to a particular period of time. And also at the same time, once it is enclosed, the food is enclosed, the container needs to be hermetically sealed, and the air has to be withdrawn from that. Like so these are the different components, so that if you do all these parameters, or if you make sure this all these parameters are met within the process, like, then you can make sure that your process, the canning process is a successful process. So if there is any, like, drawback in any of these processes, like for example, if you take the container itself, the container is one of the crucial part in this process. If you take the container itself, if the container has to meet certain qualities, like, because you cannot use any container for this process. That even though if you take the classification of containers, even though there are different containers, like it's rigid, semi-rigid, and flexible containers, but there are specific materials which qualify so that it could be used for canning. That is like so. We also discussed like what are the qualities we are looking through in the case of each material. The main quality is usually the thermal tolerance. Like it has to withstand very high temperatures. Like we could go up to the standard temperature, as you know, is 121.1 degrees Celsius. But if you use like different time temperature combinations are used, we can go more than that. So it should withstand a very high range of temperatures. That is the basic quality required by the container. And another second one is like it should be able to we need to properly hermetically seal the container. Whatever, respective of the type of the container that we use, it should be able to we need to seal it. So that is one of the important. And the third one, there are different qualities we expect, but I am just touching the top three. And the third one is that it should not react with the food. So this is the three basic necessities of the container there we are looking into. And regarding the process, like that was the container process. So regarding the processes there, like the process or the equipments that we use uh, to can actually. So you already know that what are the equipments required. Like the basic equipment required is the high pressure retort, high pressure retort. We require a high pressure retort. So the retort should be able to to transfer the required temperature to the core of the container. So the retort should be designed accordingly, and different types of retorts are used. Irrespective of the type of the retort used, the retort should be proper. It could transfer the temperature, the required temperature, to the core of the container. And the main thing is like the process has to be properly monitored, like the monitoring of the temperature. So the core temperature need to be measured. Like there should be equipments like thermal validation systems which can measure the core temperature throughout the entire process. So why all these things are important? Like the temperature monitoring is important, the proper equipment is important, the container is important. Why these things are important means we already know the crucial bacteria. So since like any other technologies, we have a reference microorganisms for this. We have a spoilage reference microorganism, and we have also have lethal organisms like pathogenic organism or lethal organisms that we need to keep in mind. Like lethal organism like Clostridium botulinum is a reference organism, and regarding the spoilage, we have Geobacillus stereothermophilus. So these are the two main microorganisms that we keep as reference organisms, so that we could make sure that the finished product is free of both of this. Because if Clostridium is able to survive, it could be lethal. It is highly lethal regarding the botulism. And if the Geobacillus is able to survive, it is going to seriously reduce the consumer acceptability of the product. So our main aim to avoid these two microorganisms, survival of these two microorganisms, and also if we are not taking care of the container, like even if we make sure the process is perfect, if there is if the container is like not properly exhausted, or it leaks, or there are chances of certain post-process spoilage as well of other like different kinds of organisms. Like even if there is a leakage, there is a chance that air can get into the containers and aerobic microorganisms like spores and yeast, etc. Like other organisms, bacteria can get into that and create a post-process spoilage. And also, so that is why this process is very important. So our core idea is to prevent. So how we make sure, if you in a very layman's term, like how we make sure the food is preserved in canning technology is that basically we make sure that we raise the conditions inside the can, which is uninhabitable to many of the microorganisms. So since microorganisms are so diverse, you will find at least a few microorganisms surviving any harsh conditions. Similarly, in this case, we have two critical microorganisms which are capable of surviving these conditions. Those are those Clostridium botulinum and Geobacillus styrothermophilus. So we make special measures so that these organisms could not survive this condition. Which conditions are like, since we are removing the oxygen or removing the air, there is going to be vacuum inside the container. So, and we are going to heat it at a higher temperature. So we are making sure that the Clostridium, like minimum botulinum cook is followed, which is 2.52 minutes at 121.1 degrees Celsius. So we have found out by experiment that this time temperature combination will make sure, this minimum time temperature combination is going to make sure that Clostridium botulinum cannot survive in a canned container. And we are also practicing different hygienic methods so that there is not going to be any case of Geobacillus styrothermophilus as well. Because if the hygiene is not proper, like if the proper raw material is not used, what happened is like the initial bacterial count. So another important factor is like initial bacterial count. Like there's a limit. Like if you have listened to the listen to sessions, that bacteria follows a logarithmic scale of increase or multiplication. So your initial bacterial count always matters. So you will try to keep the initial bacterial count as low as possible. So we use hygienic practices, and then we use the thermal processes so that the high thermal processes can can reduce the bacterial count on a logarithmic scale. So there is no significant amount of bacteria which survives, which can cause a deteriorative effect on the final product, which is known as the the commercial sterility. The concept of commercial sterility is that the process reduces the bacterial count to a level. It does not guarantee a sterilization effect. Like sterilization and commercial sterility, the difference is like sterilization, we intend to destroy the entire microorganisms available in the system, but the commercial sterility targets only to destroy the bacterial count to a certain level where it is not able to create any serious, any health issues to the consumer or quality issues to the product. So the process needs to be designed so that we attain a commercial sterility. That is what our intent is. So if you achieve all these things, like the proper process is followed, which assures the proper commercial sterility, a proper container is taken, which can withstand these various processes, which can withstand the pressure inside the container, like internal and external pressures, which is neutral to the food and which is heat sealable properly. So then if you understand the concept, we understand the concept or follow the concept by measuring the core temperature throughout the process. So another crucial factor is like the time temperature combination. That so every product, like it is not like we already told that 2.52 minutes for at 121.1 degrees Celsius. That is the standard time temperature combination that we follow. It is the basic rule. This combination is also it's called minimum temperature. So you cannot go below this. This is a minimum required, but in a real scenario, what happens is like within a food can, the time temperature combination varies because it is a thermal process, and the temperature is transferred from point A to point B using various processes, like conduction, convection, and so in a can, it is a combination of process which involves conduction and convection. So what happens is like temperature travels at different rates depending upon the size of the container, the consistency of the food product, the type of the heating mechanism we use, type of the machinery we use. So lot of factors are going to be influencing the temperature transfer to the core of the food product. So what we need to do is like for every product, depending on the type of the product, type of the container, and the quantity of the product, we need to standardize the time temperature combination for this. So a single point or single uh, factor that we use to standardize this time temperature combination is F naught value. So F naught value, if you see that it is not, like there are different values like D values there, Z values there. So F naught value is one of the product, like it is nothing but it is the totality of the thermal process. This is the combined effect of the temperature in various the processes, like various points throughout the process. If you take a process which starts from A and ends at B, the entire lethality between A and B is represented using F naught value. That is what F naught value is about. The total lethality of the process. So that is going to be very significant. So we need to standardize the lethality of the process or the F naught value depending on the product that we use, the container type, the container size, and the equipments that you are going to use for this. So that is the main part. Like if you, depending on the product, you need to standardize F naught value for each of the product. So that is the basic concept of this. And now I leave to Dr. Maya.
Thank you, Dr. Abhilash. I'm Dr. Maya. I'm a faculty in Food Science and Technology Department at Kerala University of Fisheries, as you might be knowing from the classes which we had been handling. This course we started, there were two faculties, Dr. Abhilash and myself, and we also had a TA who was assisting us with the issue, the questions and the doubts that you were raising. And in this live session, where Dr. Abhilash has given you, or he has briefed about the canning, the technology, the importance of technology, and also what are the different parameters that are important while we do canning. So in this course, it was an 8-week course, and the notes and the study material, it was also shared along with the weekly videos which you were going through. And now coming to the sessions, the later part of the sessions, that is value addition and of seafoods. And we started with the importance of the health or the spoilages that we may face in the canned products. And since any food product, the shelf life matters, and it is the main concern of a producer that the shelf life of the food need to be extended. So whether you follow canning or any other processing technique, the ultimate goal is to extend the shelf life. Okay, the prime goal is to retain the nutritional qualities. That remains the same for most of the products, most of the techniques that we follow. But along with retaining the nutritional qualities, extending the shelf life is also very important. And when we talk about shelf life, the spoilage or the microbiological parameters, these are also very important. So in the 4th week session, we were discussing about the different organisms that may cause spoilages. So we also discussed about the physical spoilages like stride formation, the deformations in can that can be observed. And we also talked about the microbiological spoilages and the different organisms that are important during canning process. And along with that, we also spoke about the commercial sterility, which is the main reason or main way or method to ensure that the canning process has been done successfully. And moving to the next week class, that is week 5, we discussed about the different processes, or how the canning happens in different products, how it varies from product to product, how the canning is different for fish, or for the shrimps, or from the mussels. So these things we had taken into consideration, and we had discussed those things. Basically, the protocol remains the same for most of the things. It is taking the raw material, clean raw material, fresh raw material, and going with cleaning, and if it is required, any pre-processing need to be done, then those things need to be adopted. And then we go to the backing, and the importance of headspace was also discussed there. And then we discussed about the filling materials, the brine or the oil which is being filled into the can, and then also the exhausting, why exhausting is done, and what are the different parameters that need to be taken care during exhausting, and what are the different methods which help in exhausting, or the process, how it is done. So, and after that, when we end the process with seaming and retorting. So like Sir said, retorting is very important, and the retorting time and temperature is very important. And basically all the processing conditions, they are based on time temperature relationship. So we have to be very critical about these things. And even in canning, that is also equally important. And then we also discussed about the pre-processing methods that we follow, and the tools that are being used, or the equipments that are being used for the pre-processing steps, right from cleaning to the slicing and filleting of the fish products. So those things we had also discussed. And the other subject that was dealt in week 5 was the additives, and the quality parameters of the additives. Of course, additives is a very important area of science now. And in food industry, it is very important to be aware of the additives. We cannot, all the additives that are listed here, and also the additives that are generally added to the food products, they have limitations, and we cannot exceed those limitations. And these additives, they have to follow the protocols, and we cannot add anything to the food just like that. So we have specifically talked about the additives that are being added to the canned products. And then we in the next session, we discussed about the standards, and we also discussed about the standards that are being followed in India, that is at the national level, and also the standards that are important at the international level. So basically, the FSSI is the main body which determines the quality, and who put forward the standards for our nation. And so they have put the regulations and other things which all the food processors, even right from the producer to the consumer, we have to adhere to these norms. And again, for all the nations, whether it is the products are meant for exporting or importing, the nations have set forth their regulations. And most of the nations, they adopt the codex regulations that has been put forth by the codex organization, and how the importance of JECFA comes, and FAO and WHO who are involved in putting forward these regulations, and what is the role of World Trade Organizations and GATT in setting these standards were also discussed in this session. And also the importance of HACCP, that is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, ISO 9000, and SSOPs, SOPs, GMPs, all these things we had discussed in the following sessions. And how it is important to start to ensure the hygiene of the food, right from the procurement of the raw material till the consumer, till it reaches to the consumer. So it's in simple words, it's like from farm to the fork, the hygiene need to be maintained so that the end product quality can be retained, and its nutritional, even the nutritional parameters or nutritional value can also be retained. So we had checked all these things in the next session. And then we moved on to the value addition. And before we started with the value addition, we briefed you about the composition and nutritional quality of seafood. Fish is a very cheap source of protein, and it's a known fact. But again, though it is a rich source of protein, and to make this available in its native form or without much spoilage is very important. And the assimilation of this protein by human body or by the gut system is also quite easy. And it can be easily absorbed by the system. So that's why seafood always has the upper hand in the food chain, and in our food chain. And then we have also discussed about the muscle structure, how the muscle proteins are acting, or how the distribution is done, and how it differs from fatty food or the lean seafood, and what are the general spoilages that can be observed in the case of seafood. And apart from the canning technology, what are the different conventional processing methods like curing, drying, smoking. We had also discussed about freezing, pasteurization. So these are the conventional methods which has been in practice for a very long time. And canning is also a traditional method, or the conventional method which we follow regularly for the processing of food to extend its shelf life and also to retain. So by extending the shelf life, we mean that we make it available during the off seasons also, and it is all there in the shelf for a very long time. And the canning, it was initiated, or the interest on canning, it came up because there was a demand for food mainly for the defense people who are on the borders. So BARC took up this as a challenge, and they came up with the solution of developing canned foods for the defense people. And now there are industries but who are working on canned products, but we have actually moved from canned to the retort packed pouch, retort packed food products and seafoods. And you can also see different kinds of retort packs in the market. And in the sessions we had discussed about what is a retort pouch or the standalone pouch, and what are the different layers and what are the properties of these layers, and how it helps in maintaining the contents inside. And along with the conventional preservation techniques, we had also discussed about the novel techniques that has come up. Though there are many new techniques that has been researched and suggested, but due to their expensive nature and the high maintenance charges, many producers, they still follow the conventional methods. So we have among the novel methods, we have HPP, that is high pressure processing, ohmic heating, we have microwave processing. Like that, we have many different techniques. But still, because conventional methods, they are much cheaper, and it is easy to maintain, easy to handle. So we still continue to use the same techniques, and even canning is one such technique. And then we went on with the value addition in the thermally processed food products. And we also discussed about the different products, different byproducts that can be generated from the seafood industry. So it's basically nothing is being wasted in the seafood industry. When we develop a technique, our aim always need to be that okay, we think about from the nutritional point, we also think about from the shelf life extension. But we also need to be aware of, or we also need to think from the environment perspective. So any technology that has been introduced or developed, it should not have it should not put any pressure on the environment, and it should help in extending or it should be a sustainable process without doing any harm to the environment. So basically, whatever waste is generated from the seafood industry, it need to be processed, it need to be made available in different forms, and so that the environment is not getting pressure. We are not harming the environment, and there's no pressure on the environment. In the balance in the environment, it's still maintained. And also, many of these the underutilized parts which are being wasted or being dumped, they contain many nutrients. They are rich in certain bioactive components, certain chemicals which are specifically found in seafoods. So we can basically use these byproducts, the underutilized products like fins. The shark fin is important. The air sacs, they can be used to develop isinglass. They can be used, even the air sac, it is used for the clarification of wine. So likewise, many such products can be developed from, or they can be the underutilized waste, or the products that are generated, they can be used to develop the byproducts. Even the skin is used to develop leathers now, and these leathers are bassa, for example, we are using it for developing leathers, and these leathers are being used to develop many leather-based products like watch strap, the purse, bags, belts, etc. So these were the points that were discussed under the value addition part. And then we came to the final part where we discussed about the importance of food laws and regulations. And basically, in any industry, where or if it has to follow, there has to be without any disturbance. If the chain has to continue, or the marketing has to be done, we need to follow certain regulations and certain laws. So in this module, we discussed about the laws and regulations, the importance of laws and regulations, and how the laws and regulations are set by various agencies, various bodies, and the regulations which we follow in our nation. That is the regulation, how FSSI is taking care of these things, and how the the federal body is also coming up with the regulations, and how to understand these regulations or the laws that are put forth by different bodies. See, these regulations, they are very important for the domestic market as well as for the export market. And recently, I came to understand that we have, if we don't follow this regulation, sometimes we end up in a troubling situation where the lots of containers may be rejected. So these laws and regulations are very important when we produce food and when we make it available for the consumers. So those things were discussed in the final session. And to talk about the exams, we had assignments at weekly assignments, and then now, since we have come to the end of the class, there will be final exam which is based on objectives, and you will be you can refer your assignment questions. You can also refer the notes that has been given to you, and the study materials, and also go through the slides, go through the classes very critically, because this will help you in answering all the questions. And with that, let me also conclude, and thank you for joining us. And it was a nice time to have you all with us. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Sir,
Yes.
yes, sir. Ma'am, shall I close this section, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are we concluding?
Yeah, yes, yeah. I think we are concluding now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Archana. Thank you, everybody.